Hi, we're back with SmarterMarkets at Boca FIA, and I'm happy to be joined by Koralewski, who's the Global Head of Market Development at Fastmarkets. Thanks for taking time with us today, Prez.
Yeah, thanks, David, for having me on your show, on your podcast.
Oh, absolutely. It's been great talking with you over the past couple of days. And I was hoping for our listeners, you could just take a few minutes to tell them a little bit about Fastmarkets and your role there and how you see your role in the markets broadly.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the Global Head of Market Development at Fastmarkets. I recently joined, but about 9 months ago. So Fastmarkets is a price reporting agency. We price different types of commodities around the world. Our reporters assess what the prices are in different locations, on different Incoterms, and we create intelligence for the market to use in their contracts. We also create forecasting kind of insights that are available through our subscription business. My role specifically is a bit different. So what I do is I look at how we can kind of partner with the financial markets to financialize some of the prices. So what a good example of how that works is lithium futures at the moment, right? So CME, SGX, and LME all chose Fastmarkets as the underlying price assessment for the cash settled futures. And we have seen growth in that area. My team is distributed globally, so we have US presence, we have presence in China, in Shanghai, in Singapore, and in London. And our role is really to kind of support that liquidity growth and support the market in general and the adoption of our prices, both in physical, but with a big focus in the financial markets.
Yeah. We always like talking with people that are building markets, so
yep.
I'm very glad to have you here. And I imagine, one of the things I wanted to ask you is what brings you to Boca? What makes this conference kind of one that goes on your list of places you need to be?
Sure. This is the first time that Fastmarkets is present at the FIA in Boca.
Okay.
At the FIA in general is the first time that Fastmarkets is present. And I think this is largely because when I joined Fastmarkets, I came in with the mindset of the financial markets. The company has very strong physical presence and a growing presence in the financial market. So when I looked at the conferences or the events that we should be participating in, FIA Boca was definitely on the top of the list. I think it's a great place because you get all the thought leaders here. You have the ability to network with your peers and the entire industry through a couple of days in a beautiful, beautiful place, which also helps with the attitude towards doing business, I guess. And otherwise, you'd have to travel multiple trips in different locations, and here it's just efficient. You get everybody in the same spot, and you can have the meetings that you want to have, and then go away with a ton of fresh ideas and also with some business.
Right. And you mentioned some of the exchanges you work with. I was curious, this is our first year here as well. What have been some of your impressions, and who were some of the other industry participants that you wanted to make sure you met while you were here?
Yeah, I think my impressions are, I wasn't here last year, but we spoke a lot with the participants about the differences between last year and this year. And I feel that there's a more of an upbeat kind of tone this year. In commodities markets, there's a lot happening at the moment. We're going through the energy transition. There's different types of regulations that are being forced upon the industry. And the industry is grappling with that. That means there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think this is something that has popped up in the conversations, is that there is a big opportunity in the commodity space because there is so much uncertainty around it. And I think that's a major takeaway, that many of the participants are actually recognizing that as a really interesting time to be in the commodity space. What is quite interesting, and one of the main takeaways for me, is that there are geographical or areas or exchanges within geographies that were not your kind of first kind of mover, that are now moving into that space and present an interesting opportunity as well. So I definitely wanted to meet with all the exchanges. I was very excited to meet with ABAX. I mean, this is it's pretty much the first exchange that is going to be launched outside of China with the physical delivery since I can remember, really. And I've been in the industry for a good chunk of my career. So I'd say, yeah, definitely wanted to kind of sit down and have those conversations on what the future looks like for the exchanges. But additionally, and you know this, like, we're all building markets. It's not just the exchange. It's not a price reporting agency. It's not. You can't do it in isolation. There's an entire ecosystem that needs to get behind it. Banks, brokers, even data distributors. So I really wanted to meet with all of those key participants for the growth of the market and make sure that we're building out those relationships so that we can efficiently build markets.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful to have the whole ecosystem in one place to have those conversations. I was curious, as you're, building out markets like lithium, a lot of the conversation this week has been around, the need for new markets. It's been around, bringing technology into the fold, into the exchanges, into the industry as a whole. When you were coming here, is there any certain messages you wanted to bring to the people you talk to in the industry?
Certainly, I think specifically for the battery raw material space, and lithium is an example of that, right? I think, it's still considered a kind of nascent market, which it is. It hasn't been around for as long as, some of the more mature products. So the message I wanted to bring is, now's the time to look at it. Now's the time to start to understand it. There is a drive from the industry, and the opportunity is there for exchange members, for exchanges. Look at this space and support the liquidity, because it's definitely, one of the contracts or areas or industries that will be growing in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I love, we had Walt Lucan with us to do one of these interviews at the start, and he talked about how, most of the year, everyone in the industry competes like hell with one another, and then you got to come together to get certain things happening. And I think one is getting new products, getting the industry focused on areas that need attention. I'm curious, when you look out, thinking about new markets that need to be developed, new needs that need to be met, are there certain challenges and opportunities that you see out there as the ones that you're focused on?
Yeah, well, there's both challenges and opportunities. And I think the challenges is launching new markets is difficult. It requires somebody to kind of really take that leap of faith, whether that's in the contract, whether that's in the PRA, whether that's in an exchange, and make that investment. Right? Somebody really needs to kind of believe in it and then make sure that others follow. And I think that's where the ecosystem comes in. Is like you're going to have the first movers, and it's very critical for those first movers to really believe in the industry or in the product. It's all about risk and regulation, right? I think that's the challenge. Sometimes, how do you start a new market when there's so many kind of risk checks that you need to kind of make sure that you satisfy within the organizations that want to participate? So I think that's a challenge. I think the opportunity is, and I'm gonna turn back to battery raw materials again. We try to compare it to something that we know, because this is a new industry. We don't, so. What we do know is that people that are building that industry are coming from the iron ore space, are coming from the base metal space. So how are they going to build that market? And I think they're going to build it towards something that they know, right? So that kind of is an opportunity. And if I look at some of the more recent launches within that space, the SGX Iron Ore 62 contract, that launched in 2010 and is now trading 3 times. The derivatives are trading 3 times the physical market. And if we overlay the battery raw materials, specifically lithium, we're seeing a similar trajectory in the first 3 years. So, and this is something that has been confirmed by industry peers, by some of the participants. They're also considering this market to kind of follow the iron ore trajectory, or kind of shape that growth, how iron ore shaped its growth. So, that's an opportunity. That is a big opportunity. So that if we are on that trajectory, that market will be.
That's great. It's a great comparable to use. And I wanted to ask you, maybe the last question of, when you think about what the industry needs to do to see some of those opportunities, meet some of those challenges. You brought up a couple things, and maybe they're the big ones. the idea of you need the first movers who believe in it. And I think it sounds like people also need patience. They can't expect things to happen in a month or a quarter, but there has to be that commitment, as you saw in the iron ore contract, of things building over time. What do you see as the industry needing to meet some of these challenges and take the opportunities?
Yeah, well, I think certainly education is needed. That's a big one. Educating the market. A lot of the players in this space are, even though they are coming, like the individuals that are building it are coming from mature industries. The industry as a whole is going through a rapid phase of demand growth, and that supply response is something that is visible, and price volatility is tremendous on the back of that. So you're going to have moments of oversupply. You're going to have moments of demand exceeding supply, and I think that is a challenge. That price volatility is certainly a challenge. So you want to make sure that you have the tools available to manage that risk. And this is not something that only traders or procurement or sales and marketing officers within the physical commodity trading space need. This is something that the CFO needs, right? I mean, they need to be able to kind of finance their investments. They need to be able to attract that capital. And if you don't have proper risk mitigation tools, then it's going to be very difficult. And we've seen that in lithium specifically. I mean, prices shot up from the teens to $80 per kilo or 80,000 per ton, and then cratered 85-90% in the past year. That does have a ripple effect on how financing is being attracted. So I think the challenge is definitely price volatility, but the industry needs to recognize that there are tools that will help them, and they should utilize them. And liquidity is growing in that space, so I think it's coming.
Terrific. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with us. Really enjoyed talking with you.
David, thank you very much for having me, and it's been a pleasure.